Hi, and welcome back to Better You. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. And if you watch my show, you know that I really enjoy doing this show where I have my friends on, just talking about stuff. Well, it just so happened I have some very close friends with me, and we're going to talk about a real touchy subject, okay? But before we start talking, let's go around and introduce ourselves for my viewers. Let's start with you.
Hello, I'm Vivian Simmons.
I am Janella Walker.
I'm Wanda.
May Bryant.
May Bryant. Well, thank you for joining me today, ladies.
Of course, happy to be here.
Well, what I want to talk about today with you guys and get your opinions too about the role that we are playing in the workplace, we as African American women. At one time, there was a glass ceiling where women could only go so far. Mm-hmm. Do you think that ceiling has changed for us? Is it down lower? Is it up higher? Do you see more opportunities for us? I know I asked a whole lot of stuff at one time. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Wanda, you want to start?
I don't think it's a glass ceiling as much as it used to be. I think people can make their own destinies. Mm-hmm. And now that people can go to school more, get more education, I think that's opening up more doors for people. Whereas before, education may have been limited, and that might have been part of the reason why women were not making as much money. But of course, there was still the double standard. So,
what do you mean by the double standard?
Where men would just automatically make more money than women, regardless to education or knowledge or experience. But I think now more women are educated and knowledgeable, so they are voicing an opinion and making things change.
Good point.
I think we still have to fight for what we want. We have to work a little bit harder, even though we have the education, the experience. I just think that's still a work in progress.
Do you think it's harder for women that are working in an environment where it's male-oriented or male-dominated?
I think it's still harder. The doors are opening. I just think it's just we still have to prove ourselves, and it's kind of hard to say, whether you're going to get that opportunity. I just think that for me myself, I always find myself still having to work harder and harder than the next person, and I want to say the next man, because in my field, I'm the only female supervisor. And so I feel like I always have to stay on top of my game. So, and I don't see a lot of females trying to come into the same field. I'm in construction. There are not a lot of females, and there's definitely not a lot of black females in this field. And so, I try every now and then to go to high schools, and talk to the young females, and when I tell them, what I do, they're like, yeah, what? And so they don't think they can do that type of work. And then when I go, out onto project, job sites, a lot of guys don't think that's the type of role I should be in.
They're like, oh, she doesn't know anything.
Exactly. And especially, they don't think you have to be pretty. So, they don't think you have to have your nails done and your hair done, in the construction.
Look like a man if you're out there.
Exactly. That's what they want you to look like. And it's not... I'm saying that you don't have to be that way. You can be and do your job and do the man's job looking good, looking like a female.
Do you feel like they respect you being a female in the type of work that you do?
I have to make them respect me. Or it's almost like earn the respect, but make them respect me. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but... I can't go out there and it's like I have to be tough and show them and especially know my job so they can respect and listen to me. So, I think it's double. It's two sword, double-edged sword.
Right.
I just think it's interesting for my field and my perspective of what I have to go through every day.
Yeah, I think what I see a lot now is even if you're qualified, and especially how you have to apply for jobs these days, you have to have connections.
Yes.
It's just so hard to put in an application online, because it's so wide open. So you don't know if you don't know if they're looking at your resume or whatever. So unless you know somebody or somebody can put in a word, you know. I mean, in so many ways that the world is bigger, but it's more narrow now because now you do have to have those connections to get your foot in the door. Somebody to give you the opportunity. If you can get the interview, you can sell yourself. But it's getting that interview. You got to get in the door first. And so that just makes it that much harder now. The internet is a wonderful thing for certain things, but not always when you're looking for a job.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think when I was growing up, I was the youngest in my family. My father always told me, you have to be better than. It was not even that I was even a woman or a black woman. You just got to be better than the next person. And I took that to mean always stay on the top of my game, take classes, and make the connections. I learned from him, sometimes it's more than what you know. It's who you know.
Right.
The perfect balance of that will get you in the door. I can say that every job that I've ever gotten is probably because of who I knew. Not to say I wasn't qualified. I hope that's not the case, because you still have to prove yourself. May has to do it probably more than any of us because she's in a male-dominated world. But when you're if you're the only female and black female in the room in any situation, you almost have to prove yourself again and again, and you can't slip up. What we find, we can't make the mistakes like everybody else. We can't do that.
You're not forgiven.
Yeah, and you have to learn to say sometimes, I had to learn early on to say, I don't know. I have to get back to you. Instead of putting myself out there and saying something I got more respect by saying, let me get back to you. I don't have an answer for you right now.
Exactly.
And sometimes we feel like we can't do that, but that's okay. I learned that early, maybe not as early as I should have, but because I was afraid in the beginning that I had to study all night and be ready, but I'm like, they can say it, why can't I say it? But we had to earn that too a little bit. But that's one of the things I have learned, like Vivian said, is relationships. And I was shy early on. Hated talk. Can you believe it? What? I was painfully shy. Thank God for Toastmasters. I learned that you have to be able to look another person in the eye and gain that credibility, because you have to be credible in what we do. You can't be shucking and driving. That's something we can't do as women, African American women. We just got to be on top of our game and present ourselves in a way that we know what we're talking about, and we truly know what we're talking about.
And we do.
And we do.
And we do.
And in every corner of the world, at home. No, I'm just kidding. Don't get me started. That's another show. So anyway, but yeah, you have to be at the top of your game to be better than. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the reality.
It's the reality of it. Yeah, it is.
It really is.
It is.
So do you all think, for lack of better words, white coworkers look at us differently in the workplace? Do they consider us an equal to them if we're working in the same role?
We have to earn it.
We have to earn it. Still earn it.
Still. Yeah, that doesn't change.
That doesn't change.
Yeah, I mean, and then there are always going to be people who would challenge what you know, and so from all sectors, and so you have to be strong in yourself and recognize when you are being challenged and rise to the occasion in a nice way. We all have our other sides. Or the other girls, as I call them. But there's a time and place for everything, and so you can put people in their place in a nice way, and even with a smile, and still get your point across.
I found too, I don't know, and maybe May can say something to this, I don't feel as challenged by men. I feel more challenged by women.
Males, yeah.
I mean, men, in my experience, they probably can tell as soon as I open up my mouth, I know a little something. But sometimes it takes a little longer for me to be trusted
by the females.
Yeah. And I don't know what that's about. I'm still, even after being in where I am in my industry for like almost 30 years, I still kind of feel like I still got to prove myself more to other women.
Black and white women, or
Black
just
and- Black
but
and white.
I just think that that's probably a feminine trait.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
a
mean,
good point.
I think there's something within us, within females, that we do challenge other females.
Yeah.
Oh, you think you all that? Okay. Prove it.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you, and you're going to prove it. And then after you prove it, then they'll back off and
Right.
leave you alone. But I think it's something that's inherent in females, that's what we do. We will. It's just like in the jungle.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think you have a good point there, because when you think about if we see a young man that we like and another woman likes him, we're going to challenge that woman.
You
Or
didn't
make
change
her-
the subject.
I was just thinking that's just the way that we are made, are built up. That's the way we think.
But I have a
I'll give you a
different
hard
point of view,
time.
because
I'll give you a hard
I am
time.
in a male-dominated industry, and so I don't challenge a lot of females.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mine
you
is
do.
more.
But you know what's interesting is and I can tell you that you do, but you don't see it.
Right, I don't
you
see
it when you're dealing with men, with the males, but you don't see it when you're dealing with females.
Right.
But as someone who's watched you on both sides of this, you do.
Well, let me just say, I deal with more men than I do.
Well, yeah.
I deal with it with men more so than women.
Yeah.
And so, I can say that on the male side, when you're saying that, I don't think it has changed much, with the white males.
Yeah.
Wanda, have you experienced that at all?
I'm in transportation, so I kind of do my own thing. I don't really have to worry about other people too much. And I'm new to the company that I'm working for now. I actually came back after 20 years. So right now, I guess I'm just sort of the new person. They're trying to figure out what I'm going. But I did mention to them that I don't want to stay where I am. I want to move into a supervisor position. And they kind of start looking at me a little differently, like, oh, you're not just... like what? You can't just be with like what we're doing. Yeah, okay. I like this, but I want to be here. So I kind of let them know that I'm not trying to just stay at the entry level. I do want to move up.
That's a good thing.
So
And
I've
we
noticed
have to
people
do that.
treat me a little bit differently now.
What do you mean by that?
Instead of just sort of ignoring me, just letting me just sort of go. It's like if I come in and ask a question, they actually take time to listen, see what I'm talking about, or if I make a suggestion, they're actually listening. And like my supervisor, I told him that I'm interested because he didn't realize that I had 3 degrees, and he was like, well, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm just got my foot in the door. He was like, okay, so well, let me know, what you're interested in.
Like, I'm here.
Your job.
But you know what? But that's a good thing. We have to do that. We really have to do that. After you get in, you have to speak it into existence. Otherwise, you get shuffled off. Because sometimes we get pushed into corners.
Yeah.
I tried to hide in one myself, but
No.
yeah,
I don't know why.
I know. But but you have to make people aware. This is where I want to go, whether it's in your own section or out into the universe, and that's when relationships are really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ladies, let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk some more about this, okay?
G-Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. You up? What'd you dream about? Me? JK.
Text me back.
I'll keep texting till you wake up.
Are your parents home later?
Is this something I did?
Exclamation point,
We're in a huge
question
fight
mark?
right This isn't a joke.
Hello?
Text me.
Seven 7,000 high school students drop out every school day. Let's catch them before it's too late. To start helping students in your community, visit boostup.org.
And welcome back to Better You. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson, here with some friends, and we're talking about the African American woman in the workplace. And is there a glass ceiling for her different from the one from the other women? And before we went on break, we was talking about how you need to really put yourself out there, speaking into existence what you want. But I want to ask you all something. Before we went on break, I was thinking, is it different between having a white manager and a black manager? Can you see the difference? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? What do you all think as black women in the workplace?
Let me speak to that.
Speak on it. That's why I asked it.
One of my first supervisors was an African American woman. She was so hard on me. She was so hard. I was like, why are you picking on me? I went in there one time, and she finally broke it down. For her, it was, she didn't want the appearance that I was her favorite because it was only the two of us. And I'm like, why you just didn't tell me that in the first place? But in the end, she became one of my really good mentors, one of my first mentors, in that we just have to be the better than. And we spoke earlier about the better than. Janella, she was like, Janella, we cannot slip. We got to be better than. So as much as I didn't like it in the beginning, I learned to appreciate it. And that was one of the best experiences I ever had.
Well, but and I'm thinking about your question, and so for the number of years that I've worked on my job, up until recently, I never had a black manager, and so
interesting.
Yeah, I still think it, and I guess it really depends on where you work as to whether you have one or not, and so currently I have one, and I really don't see a difference. What I will say is that I think I can talk more freely with him.
Okay.
I think that I can have one-on-one conversations with him that someone else might not understand, but I can have those conversations with him, and I don't have to break it down. He understands what I'm saying,
and it's not a guarded conversation.
It's not exactly. So, but then, and I don't think it's so much just the management thing. I think there again, it's a relationship.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And so. Relationships, when you're speaking with people and how much you open up, really depends on how you define that person. And so if you define that person as a friend, then you will open up to them. If they're not a friend, then you keep it at a surface level. You don't go deep with it. So that's my experience with black management.
That's a good point. And I was trying not to make a difference between.
But there is a difference.
There is a difference, and I think it comes with age and experience. I'm definitely a different person than I was when I first started this. You see a supervisor as a person you can't really touch or talk to in the beginning. Hindsight is 20/20. I wish I had been smart enough to know back then that they're just like us. They have fears and concerns and issues and prioritize. Once you recognize that at any age, you understand how to approach them, how to talk to them. Some you just can't, because sometimes they don't know what they're doing. We've had a couple of those managers, and you just kind of treat that accordingly. But if you have a good manager, decent manager, you understand that you can go to them no matter who and what they are.
Okay.
Because a good manager, no matter what, you can't really see a difference.
Exactly.
True. You really can't. And some people are just not as confident in their job. So I'm at a point now, I don't even see the color, if I can say that. I look at them at what kind of manager are you? Are you somebody I can go to and talk to? Are you somebody I can trust? Because I've had some managers I could not trust. So it just depends. Now that, like I said, I've been in it a little while, that it's just a matter of what kind of manager they are.
And I think that's their personality.
Yes.
Because like you're saying, the manager I have now, he may not be as good of a manager as my previous manager, which was a black female. But I view them in the same view because I could go to them and talk to them. I know that I can express my opinion, and I feel freely talking to them. And one was black and one is white. So I don't view them in necessarily saying it's a difference in the color. Did that black female do a little bit differently? It's like Vivian said, because she could, understand where I'm coming from and relate to me because I'm a black female. Yes. But in essence, because their personalities allowed me to be able to talk to them, I think that makes them a better manager, and they should be able to relate to any employee that way. And that's what's going to make them a good manager. You have to know each person individually, whether you're black or white.
Yeah.
I can remember when I was a little bit younger at a company I worked for almost 9 years. At the time, I didn't see what my manager, he wasn't even my manager at the time, but he wanted me to work for him. And he was older, and it was a black man, but he was setting things up to get a hold of me. And I didn't really see what was going on, but then he put some things in place, and once I started working for him, like his assistant was going out on maternity leave, and I didn't know she wasn't coming back. I don't know if he did or not, but she didn't come back. So then he's like, well, don't you want to just stay? So I ended up staying, and when he got ready to retire, he didn't just leave me in the cold. He set up some things so that I could move up and get into a different department and work for the connection. And I didn't really understand it then, but I don't think if I had worked for maybe a female manager that she may have done the same.
Different.
It may have been a difference, but I think he was actually looking out for my best interest for the company, and he saw, my potential and my work ethic, and he just sort of put things in place.
But Wanda, you don't think a female would have seen the same thing?
I would say my black female, she did do that.
Yeah.
Just like my mentor did.
And so I don't think it's the matter of questioning whether it's a female.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, after him, I had a female manager that tried to get me out the door by any means necessary.
But
that was her personality.
And other issues. We tend to think that it's something else when it's really something we are only seeing that one aspect of it, but there's more to the story than what we see. And so I think we're
she got a pattern. She was the axe lady.
That was her thing.
And then she left.
Whole, that we as females, not always, tend to be a little bit more compassionate for each other. Sometimes.
Not that one. Not that one. Something else.
Y'all might take my card though. I'm gonna tell you, in all honesty, it's easier. And y'all don't shoot me because I am a feminist too. It's easier to work for a man.
Why do you say that?
Men don't bring in
PMS.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that. They don't wear things less on their sleeves. Like men want to get the job done. Just get the job done. Keep people off my back. I'm good.
Make me look good.
Yeah,
make you look good.
My experience.
Oh, okay.
From my experience, women kind of take things to me more personally. Into the feeling piece. Men don't get into the feeling. Just get the job done.
It's not gender specific.
What if your manager is gay?
I'm not even talking about that. But that's different.
Specific.
I'm gonna tell you my experience. The men just get the job done. That's my experience.
But then you live in a math world, right?
What do you mean by the math world?
Yeah, numbers.
Black and white numbers.
That's how it's been for me. That's just how it's been for me.
Okay,
that's what's in my experience.
But I work in the numbers world too. But there again is more about. For me to get my job done, it's more about relationships. And so the relationships carries more weight than any supervisor.
That's true.
If you work with people and you have that relationship, you get it. If you have to go through a supervisor to get it, you're going to wait. So to me, there again, it comes back to the relationship thing, and that's what I cultivate. I try to cultivate relationships, and that's both inside of work and outside of work. I mean, those are the things that are going to carry me through. My relationships with my friends are very important to me. Because I've chosen them. I have allowed them to be friends. Unlike your family, you're born with them and they got to be with them anyway. But for relationships and how you value those relationships, whether work or outside, is what will carry you through.
You know, ladies, we are almost out of time, almost. But I do want to ask this one question. What do we tell our little girls going into the workplace? What advice would you give them? Or would you give your younger self if you could?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Well, one,
Uh-oh.
this is something that I see that really bothers me, is that there's clothing for work.
Yes.
And there's clothing for partying.
Yes.
And the two should not mix, and every style is not for everybody.
True.
Got that
Because I
right.
tell you,
We have seen some stuff.
yes, we do. Yes, we do. And my thing for young ladies is to walk proud. You know, carry yourself in a way so that you feel good about you, and your family does as well. You know, I know this sounds old school, but you still represent your family when you step outside the door.
That's true.
You know, you don't want anything. Oh, did you see Wanda's daughter?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, because my girls, they know. But I'm saying, but that's one thing that's great. My daughters, I haven't had to really have the conversations, but yeah.
But we see stuff in the
boys do.
workplace now. But
Yeah.
both,
Yeah.
we see stuff in the workplace that really has no
I
place.
see some stuff too.
Depending on where you work. Now, there are places where you work where some of these things would be fine.
Exactly.
But you have to know where you work and what's acceptable.
So, Janella, what would you tell your younger self if you could, or your daughter, before going into the workplace?
Speak with confidence.
Very good.
Know your stuff
I
and
was gonna
speak
say,
with
hone your
confidence.
skill.
Hone your skill and never stop learning.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You learn from them.
Yeah.
And document.
So, Wanda, I take it that's what you would say.
Get that notepad, take notes.
Unfortunately.
So, May, what would you tell your younger self if you could?
Well, I don't have a younger me. I have some boys, young men, but I do. I tell them, learn your skill and learn it well. And if you know that, they can't take that from you.
That's so true.
And so, and I always tell them to ask questions. Because no question is going to be you're not going to get the wrong answer. You have to keep asking questions. That's how you're going to learn your job.
Yeah, it is.
So those are the two things I tell them: to hone their skill and ask questions.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. I had fun doing this. We have got to do this some more.
Okay.
Again and again and again.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
And I want to thank each and every one of you out there watching my show, A Better You, every Wednesday night here on Public Access 21 at 6 p.m. Thank you guys so much for coming. And ladies, zero, so do not